bring together distinguished scholars and researchers to share insights and advance discussion on human migration, maritime archaeology, and ancient trade networks for the first day sessions. And before we start, I think a few quick technical notes for our online participants. So please keep your microphones mute when not speaking, and kindly name your Zoom to include your full name or institutions. And if you have a question, please use the chat box or raise your hand features. And I think we will have a dedicated part to have a discussion in each for each session of the first day's presentation. So thank you for your cooperations. So if I want to start, so today's program reflects a truly interdisciplinary and international collaboration featuring contribution for institutions such as the BRIN, Edvos Lorentz University, CNRS, and other esteemed partners. Together, we will explore the key questions surrounding human dispersals, bioarchaeological approaches, maritime connectivities, and long-distance interaction across the Indian Ocean world. So, is Pak Heri is already here? I think just hang on. So while waiting for Pak Heri, I think I'll just let you guys know there will be 3 sessions for today's webinars, which is the first group will be human migration and dispersals. There will be 2 parts of speakers. The first one is Professor Tamas Hajdu and Dr. Tamas Sezenissi. I hope I didn't butchering their name. So they will talk about opportunities and limitation in analyzing ancient human remains with modern bioarchaeological methods. And the second part is Professor Hari Widianto. He will talk about Homo erectus and when did they arrive in Java, notes from the archaeological researchers. And then the second part is we shift to maritime archaeologies, will be presented by Agni Cesaria Mokhtar. And it's entitled Ship and Maritime Connectivities in Pre-Modern Southeast Asia, a multidisciplinary approach to interpreting disarticulated ship timbers. And then the second one is Dr. Berenice Belina and her colleague, which is Hari Sofian and Aude Faveru, Dr. Nguyen Humant, and they will talk about ancient maritime network between Vietnam and the insular worlds, which is part of Java, Sumatra, regional dynamics, and cultural integrations. And then the last part, it will be ancient trade networks. So in this part, there will be Dr. Eri Sadewo from BRIN, who will talk about West Sumatra coast in global interaction in the Indian Ocean region from the 7th until 11th century AD. And then the last one, it will be Dr. Christina Hoppa and her colleague, Dr. Bernice Belina, Hari Sofian, Sinatri Adityama, Loredo Subuyu, and entitled Rethinking the Level of East Indian Ocean Interactions, Categorization and Interpretation of Mediterranean Identified Artifacts in Indonesia. So, since I already see Pak Heri Yogaswara is here, so without further ado, it is my honor to invite Dr. Heri Yogaswara as the Director of Archaeological Language and Literature Organization BRIN to deliver the first opening remarks. So, Pak Heri, the floor is yours. You can unmute your mic.
Thank you, Dr. Anton. Sorry for a little bit technical problem. Good morning, friend from Europe, and good afternoon for participant from Indonesia and also Southeast Asia country. even though I say the good afternoon, but I think the situation now like morning because we have still raining now, and then and also quite cold here. Distinguished colleagues, respected speaker, and participants from around the world. My name is Heri Yogaswara. As head of research organization for archaeology, language, and literature at the National Research and Innovation Agency, or we call for short BRIN. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the international webinar entitled Connecting Continents and Ocean, Southeast Asian Archaeology and Heritage in Dialogue with Europe. This event, organized in collaboration with our esteemed partners from Edfos Laureate University, sorry for my pronunciation, reflect our shared commitment to advancing archaeological research through dialogue, collaboration, and interdisciplinary exchange, just like our webinar now. It's bring together scholars from diverse backgrounds to explore not only the richness of Southeast Asian archaeology, but also the broader connection that link our region across time and space. Since the national research transformation in 2021 up to 2022, National Research and Innovation Agency or BRIN has integrated diverse research institutions into a single. Maybe some of you previously familiar with the Arkenas, Arkeologi Nasional, and other related archaeological research. Coordinated board, this transformation enables more robust and competitive research funding scheme, support the development of advanced infrastructure and laboratories across discipline, including archaeology and heritage science, and also strengthens a national research ecosystem for innovation. I think in this case, BRIN try also to work with different kind of organizations, especially related the university who has the archaeological department in Indonesia. And also equally important, BRIN has expanded its commitment to researcher mobility and international collaboration. If we talk about the researcher mobility, BRIN provide also opportunity to foreign researcher to join as a postdoctoral or also visiting professor or visiting research to do work with BRIN in the some related area. We have various mobility program, as I mentioned earlier, visiting researcher and professor scheme, and also joint research initiative. And I do hope this morning discussion is part of the joint research initiative. We also actively facilitate the exchange of knowledge, expertise, and human resource across borders. In this regard, we warmly invite colleagues and researchers from abroad to join BRIN's program, whether through collaborative research, laboratory access, or participation in our mobility platform, so that we may work together in addressing shared scientific question and global challenges. As we gather over the next 2 days, since this afternoon, we are reminded that archaeology is not merely about uncovering the past, but about building bridges between discipline, between cultures, and between regions. Through the integration of scientific approaches, humanities perspective, and community engagement, we continue to deepen our understanding of human history and heritage. We hope that this forum will foster meaningful discussion, inspire new research partnership, and contribute to a more inclusive and globally connected archaeological discourse. Thank you for your participation, and I wish you all a fruitful and engaging webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pak Dr. Hari Yogaswara, for your insightful opening remarks. And we now continue with our second opening remarks. It is my pleasure to invite Professor Imre Hamar from Ethos Loran University to share his remark. So, Professor Hamar, the floor is yours.
Colleagues, honorable representatives of BRIN at Intertwined University, dear speakers and participants. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the international webinar Connecting Continents and Oceans, Southeast Asian Archaeology and Heritage in Dialogue with Europe, jointly organized by the Research Center for Archaeometry, Research Organization of Archaeology, Language and Literature of the National Research and Innovation Agency of Indonesia, BRIN, and the Roman World and the Far East Research Group of Intertwined University at Hungary. Allow me first to express our sincere appreciation to our Indonesian partners. This event is more than a conference. It is the result of a genuine intellectual partnership between Indonesia and Hungarian scholars who share a commitment to deepening academic exchange, strengthening professional collaboration, and advancing archaeological research and heritage management across regions. The title is our webinar, Connecting Continents and Oceans, is not merely poetic. For more than 2 millennia, the Maritime Silk Road has been one of the busiest arteries of global exchange. Along its routes, not only goods, but ideas, technologies, artistic forms, and religious traditions traveled continuously. Material and intellectual cultures were never static. They were shaped by movement, translation, adaptations, and reinterpretation. If we reflect on this long history of connectivity, we realize that Maritime Asia was not a marginal extension of a larger civilization, but a central arena of interactions. Ports, coastal settlements, and island polities functioned as mediators, translators, and innovators. In this sense, Southeast Asia was not merely a recipient of influences from India, China, or Mediterranean world. It was a space where ideas were selectively adopted, transformed, and embedded into new cultural environments. This perspective is essential if we wish to move beyond older diffusionist models and to recognize the agency of local communities in shaping global history. As director of ERTA Confucius Institute and as Director's Commissioner for Asian Affairs, I see this conference as part of a broader institutional commitment to foster sustained cooperation between Europe and Asia and to approach the history of global interactions through rigorous interdisciplinary scholarship. Intertwined University, and especially its Faculty of Humanities, has a long and distinguished history. Founded in 1635, our university has continuously served as a center of learning, research, and intellectual exchange for nearly 4 centuries. The Faculty of Humanities, the oldest faculty of the university, has played a crucial role in shaping Hungarian scholarship in history, philology, archaeology, and cultural studies. Today, with 16 institutes and approximately 8,000 students, it remains the largest faculty of higher education in Hungary. Within this framework, the ERTA Confucius Institute has become an important platform for the promotion of Chinese culture and for the academic study of Eurasian connections. One of its central research objectives is the multifaceted investigation of the ancient, medieval, and modern Silk Road, grounded in philological, historical, and archaeological analysis. In this aspect, our aim not only to reconstruct network exchange, but to situate them in their precise historical context, and indirectly to reflect on how pre-modern forms of globalization may influence contemporary process. The Elder Roman World and the Far East Research Group, established with the support of the University Excellence Fund and operating within the framework of the Confucius Institute, represents a concrete embodiment of this mission. The group seeks to develop a comprehensive understanding of the relations between the Roman world, Southeast Asia, and China. Its approach is deliberately interdisciplinary. It combines the study of written sources, the systematic analysis of archaeological data, and the development of theoretical models capable of explaining long-distance cultural interactions. By comparing archaeological materials and textual traditions from Southeast Asia and China, and by analyzing the reception and the interpretations of Roman and Roman-related artifacts in these regions, the research group aims to shed new light on the networks and communities that link the Mediterranean world to the Far East. Such work requires not only careful empirical investigation, but also close international cooperation, precisely the spirit in which this webinar has been conceived. Allow me at this point to turn to a field of research that is politically close to me, personally and academically, and which also resonates strongly with the broader themes of this conference: the transmission of Buddhism across maritime and overland routes between India, Southeast Asia, and China. For many years, my own research has focused on the movements of Buddhist ideas, texts, and monastic communities along the Silk Road networks. As we know, Buddhism reached China along the two principal routes: the overland pathways through Central Asia and the maritime routes that passed along the coast and islands of Southeast Asia. The lives of foreign monks introduced Buddhist teachings to China, preserved in monastic biographical collections such as the Khalsa Journal. These sources allow us to reconstruct not only doctrinal developments, but also patterns of mobility, travel experience, and cross-cultural mediation. Equally significant are those Chinese monks who journeyed southward to Southeast Asia and India, and whose accounts testify to the vibrancy of maritime connections. These textual traditions demonstrate that the sea functioned not as a boundary, but as a connective medium. The maritime world of Southeast Asia was an active and indispensable participant in the transmission of religious knowledge. In this regard, the monument of Borobudur in Central Java offers a compelling case study. Built approximately between 780 and 825 under the Shailandra dynasty, Borobudur stands as one of the most remarkable Buddhist monuments of Southeast Asia. Its complex architectural and narrative program has long attracted scholarly debate. Many researchers have proposed that the reliefs of its upper levels draw upon the Gandavyuha Sutra, the final chapter of the Avatamsaka Sutra, describing the pilgrimage of Sudara. Interpretations have varied. Some view the monuments as a representation of Mount Meru, others as a mandala, an axis mundi, or a threefold cosmological structure. Still others connect it with specific textual traditions or dynastic ideologies. Recent scholarship has sought to refine these interpretations by examining, on the one hand, whether the structural and symbolic elements of the monuments reflect the conceptual world of the Avatamsaka Sutra, and on the other, whether the visual program of the further force galleries can be more precisely correlated with known versions of the Gandavyuha Sutra. Such inquiries exemplify the kind of work that this conference seeks to promote: research that integrates art history, archaeology, textual study, and religious history. Research that situates monuments and artifacts within broader trans-regional networks, and research that recognizes Southeast Asia not as a peripheral zone, but as an active and creative participant in global processes. The cooperation between ELTA and BRIN is inspired by the extensive possibilities offered by international collaboration. By sharing human expertise and technical resources, our institutions contribute not only to bilateral academic relations, but to a broader pool of global knowledge. In a time when international dialogue is both more necessary and more fragile than ever. Scholarly partnerships such as this carry particular significance. Let me therefore conclude by expressing my sincere hope that today's webinar will foster new connections, generate fruitful debates, and lay the groundwork for further joint projects. May it strengthen the intellectual bridges between Indonesia and Hungary, between Southeast Asia and Europe, and more broadly, between continents and oceans that have long been intertwined through human curiosity, creativity, and exchange. I thank our organizers for their dedications, our speakers for their valuable contributions, and all participants for joining us. I wish you a stimulating and inspiring conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the thank you very much, Professor Ahmad, for the pre-recorded remarks. So I have to remind you, all the attendees, all the people who attend the webinars, about regarding the discussion and questions. It'll be after, not, it'll be after, it will be by the end of the day, all the presenters, not after the presenters. So it'll be, so you better hold your question first, and then there'll be present time for you guys to ask the question afterwards, not after the presentations. So now we move to our first thematic sessions, human migration and dispersal, which explores key questions surrounding human evolutions, movement, and adaptation through time. So to begin the sessions, we honor to have Professor Tamas Hajdu and Dr. Tamas Sezinizi from LTE. So
Sanitsai.
the time is yours, Professor Tamas.
Thank you very much for the possibility. And just, I would like to start sharing my presentation. Just a moment. I would like to ask you to send a feedback. Can you see the changes of slides?
Yes.
Great. So it is a great honor and pleasure to start this scientific panel, and thank you very much for the possibility to speak here. I got the task from the organizer to speak a bit about new modern bioarchaeological methods, possibilities, and limitations. Because when I started biological anthropology 2 decades ago, approximately, it was totally different field. And we have a lot of possibilities to do great research on human remains. But before the scientific part of the presentation, I would like to introduce our field for the Indonesian and other foreign colleagues, because you will see that we have a great and long history in Hungary on this field. So our institute or department, the founding date was really early. I don't know whether you know the name of Paul Broca. I hope yes. He was a great researcher in France who did a lot of things in medical sciences. We know that there is a part of the brain which is really important, and this region got the name from that scientist, who was the initiator of Hungarian biological anthropology, since there was a world exhibition in Paris in late 19th century. And Professor Aurel Török, who was a well-known anatomist, who got the degree in Vienna and in Budapest, and he traveled to France and got a suggestion from Broca to start biological anthropology in Hungary. Professor Török was the founder of our institute and the founder of a great collection. In that time, due to his great work, it was more than 12,000 skeletons, which was great. And he was the founder of craniometry in Hungary, which means the measuring of the skull and compare them with each other in order to provide really detailed and objective description and comparison between populations. You should know that beside our institute, there is some other in Hungary. One of the most powerful is in Szeged University. They deal with population history, paleopathology. They have great projects, mainly on leprosy, tuberculosis, and on migration period populations. And this is our small department with 4 researchers. We deal with more field of biological anthropology, not only the bioarchaeology part, but also on recent population studies and human genetics and tumor genetics too. And I should mention one crucial collection and department in Hungarian Natural History Museum. They have one of the world's greatest anthropological collection with more than 50,000 human remains from different time period. They are in Budapest now. And let's speak about the scientific part of the lecture. So at first, we would like to summarize our possibilities, because if we are biological anthropologists, normally we study the morphological features of the skeletons. And based on them, we can estimate the sex and age, we can do detailed paleopathology, and due to these results, we can do population history studies. We can try to reconstruct the history of our population lived in the past and who arrived or lived in the Carpathian Basin in past Hungary. And with this information, we can do a detailed reconstruction, biological reconstruction of past populations. So this is the main aim, main goal of classical biological anthropologists. But you know that we have some archaic methods like craniometry, why we should measure the skull and compare one person or one population with each other in the period when we have the possibility to do ancient DNA. I can say that it's crucial. If you compare the available human skeletal remains in Hungary, which means more 100,000, and if you check the price of the ADNA research, which is just the laboratory things, it's more than 160 US dollars, which means that we cannot investigate everyone with these new and great techniques, but measuring the skull is free, and morphological features, the investigation of morphological features, it's almost free. You need salary, you need institution, but without any addition. And you should know that if you do the classical biological investigations, if you have the connection to a good laboratory, you can supplement it with great modern results. We know that Nobel Prize was given to Svante Pääbo, who dealt with Neanderthals, Denisovans, and the migration of modern Homo sapiens into the world, into Europe and other part into Southeast Asia too. It can provide great results. So, and if you deal with later phases of human history, you can find some great results in big journals, like in Nature. Our colleagues and we were in the team too. We published Yamnaya migration from the east to the west to the northwest, and it was a really efficient moving, which remains really a significant human genomic part in recent Europeans. And due to their detailed archaeogenetic work, colleagues realized this. But there are some other really important paper too, which reconstructed the way the migration of Hungarians, conquerors, and the Neolithic farmers' migration too. And what other type of methods can we use too? Just some example from Southeast Asia. We know that there is a possibility to study the stable isotopes. And why? It's really simple from our solution. So it's really good to use them because of the reconstruction of paleo diet and migration too. So if we have a connection to a good stable isotope laboratory, and if we have a colleague who can deal with strontium and carbon and nitrogen, we can reconstruct the dietary patterns of past populations and the mobility pattern too. This is some newer example from Southeast Asia. Boulanger et al. And Fenner et al. Paper tried to summarize and try to examine the isotope values of different species, animal species, which can help to reconstruct the dietary patterns of human populations from the past. And since there is a really important thing in the title of our presentation about limitations, I can say that you should know that in the past there were a lot of populations who followed different burial rites than inhumation. They used cremations too, which can influence the result of a bioanthropological investigation or bioarchaeological investigation. And why? It's also simple. If we burn the dead bodies, we can destroy almost every information. But based on the investigation of cremation or cremains, cremated human remains, we can reconstruct the burial rite on a really detailed way. And you should know that if we would like to know more about the history of that population, we have really huge limitations because DNA is destroyed by the heat, by the high degree of the burial rite, and it damaged everything. But we have the possibility to investigate stable isotopes. So if we study the strontium isotope ratio of the remains, we can say that man or woman was buried on the same place where he was born or she was born, which is a crucial info. And we would like to present two short parts, a case study from the Bronze Age and the new project from the 6th to 9th century AD. At first, we should speak about Bronze Age. What we know about Bronze Age in Hungary. This period means 2600 BC to 800 BC, which was a really heterogeneous period. As you see on the left part of the slide, in culture, it was a really huge heterogeneity from time to time. But something happened around 1500 BC, and a totally new culture occupied big part of recent Hungary. We know that it is a cultural change, but we did not know some years ago whether it means migration or admixture or just a cultural effect. And from decades ago, Hungarian anthropology started to study this based on so-called archaic chroniometric methods. They and we observed that there is a change in the biological background, since the morphology of the skull reflect the genetical background. If we compare this morphological pattern, we can know more about the genetics of that people. And more researchers realized that something happened in that time. So it was not a clear cultural changes, but it is a cultural and biological change. We got a project on studying the possible population changes and possible lifestyle changes happened in that part. The plan was to do classical anthropology with supplement with molecular methods too. And let's pick the results in shortly. So we studied the main cemetery of Tiszafüred-Majoroshalom, which is a case site in Hungary. And finally, we got more than 60 radiocarbon date from the cemetery just to do a detailed basement of the scientific reports. We published it as a raw data set in radiocarbon, and we are working on the continuation of the archaeological research with the leading of János Dani. And just some words about our results. As I said, it is a supplement of classical biological anthropology, and we found a migration pattern. As you can see on the right side, C154 and E16 means migration. These two males was born on a different place. And we observed extremely high change, really big change on diet too, because of the millet consumption. Together in parallel with the cultural changes, we observed the really high ratio of millet consumption, which was a big change. And that school was one of the immigrant person, and I observed it with classical morphological pattern in my PhD 14 years ago. And the stable isotopes showed the same. And the last part of the presentation is about one of the most important bioarchaeological period in Hungary, our period. Why? Because as we know, we have more than 3,500 sites from this period in Hungary with more than 100,000 skeletons. Due to this big amount of anthropological remains, more than 150 anthropological papers were published in the last 150 years. And you should know that in the last years, these classical anthropological studies were supplemented by aDNA and stable isotopes due to the big European Research Council project called Histogenes. But we had a lot of colleagues who dealt with that topic. And I would like to emphasize the importance of different attitude, because as I said, we have a lot of publications, so in these papers, it was written that a lot of people arrived due to a really high ratio of migration from Asia to Hungary in that time. But in that time, a lot of things changed in society too. And no one investigated on this attitude, these questions. So in a recent project led by Tamás Szenicei, the position of the children will be also investigated in our society, because with new bioarchaeological methods, we can say that that child or that children were males or females, and we can check the burial rites and compare with the sex or gender of that people too. And Tamás' plan is also to investigate uh, the position between the children state and the adult phase of people. So he would like to investigate the really young people and also the life of the adults in our society. And I would like to say huge thanks for the possibility to present our country, biological anthropological field, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Harmar. Oh, thank you very much, Professor Hadju. Oh, I missed everything.
Don't worry.
Thank you very much for the fascinating presentation and the opportunities to share the research that had been done and conducted in Hungary in terms of bioarchaeological methods, the recent findings, and everything. So thank you very much. And our next speaker is Professor Hari Widianto. So the first session, it will be in Hungary, and then now we shift to Southeast Asia, as we know that Professor Hari is working almost his life in Southeast Asia in terms of hominids. So he will present his work in terms of Homo erectus and when did they arrive in Java. So if you're ready, Professor Hari, you can
Yes, I
start
will.
your presentation.
Thank you, Pak Anton. Good morning in Europe and good afternoon in Indonesia. I would like to speak about when did the Homo erectus arrive to Java. And I would like to share my presentation. I hope you can see that, yeah?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So this is about the arrival of Homo erectus in Java. Notes on the archaeological recent researches. And this paper was written by me and also Dr. Sofwan Nurwiti, who is here now. Java Island, Indonesia, Southeast Asia. Here is a small island here in Indonesian archipelago. Even though this is only a small island, it has a very big role in the human evolution. Because Java is one of the famous place for human evolutions on the world, outside Africa, Europe, and also China. It gives us about the human remains during the Quaternary, Pleistocene, and Holocene. We talk about Homo erectus until about 150,000 years ago. And after that, they were replaced by Homo sapiens up to our era. So Java has a role for human evolutions during the last 2 million years. And the beginning of the anthropology in Java was began by Eugene Dubois, that he tried to find the link between ape and man at the moment, at the end of 19th century. That's why he goes to the Northern equatorial regions in Indonesia, because he see that this region have no significant changes in environment. So all aspects of the past can be traced back at this region. So he went to Java, to Indonesia in the end of 19th 1887. And in 1891, he's lucky because he found in the village of Trinil in East Java a skull cap, very ancient man, very long and very, not so high, the skull cap. And it is completed with what femur that show a biped human. So he named this discovery as Pithecanthropus erectus in 1891 from Trinil region in East Java. And these specimens is the first Homo erectus discovered in the world. Yeah, this is the first specimens of Eugene Dubois. And after that, far after the era of Eugene Dubois, from Java, we have so many Homo erectus that up to now, we have more than 130 specimens of Homo erectus. And chronologically from 1931, after 1871, we have 11 skull cap from Ngandong, discovered in the meander of Bengawan Solo in East Java. This is a kind of progressive Homo erectus. And after that, in 1934, we have many human fossils from a famous site of Sangiran in Central Java. And the oldest one from this Homo erectus from Java dated 1.5 million years ago. And also from Sangiran, we have the mandibles, very ancient, 1.5 million years ago also. One of them we know as Meganthropus paleojavanicus. This is the oldest material from Sangiran and also the oldest material of Homo erectus from Indonesia. After that, we have a more evaluated skull of Homo erectus from Sangiran also. Then another skull cap from Mojokerto in East Java also, discovered in 1936. A skull of a children of 7 until 9 years old. And then from Sambung Macan, 1974. Now we have a series of Homo erectus skull from Sambung Macan, more than 6 individuals. Also in Pati Ayam, 1979. And Ngawi, 1987. And all the sites is distributed in Java, eastern part of Java. So if we find new specimens, it will be, belongs to this area, We believe that Homo erectus of Java is part of Africa part 1, that they departed from Africa 1.8 million years ago. And they arrived to Java by using land bridges forming during the glaciations of the Pleistocene that made possible the migration route from Africa to Java. And traditionally, we said that they arrived in Java some 1.5 million years ago. So when we see about the assemblies of Homo erectus and the distributions of the sites with many dating, it's possible that Homo erectus came long before 1.5 million years ago. So let me see about the evolutions of Homo erectus in Java. during 1.5, we have three kinds of Homo erectus. The archaic one, the most ancient here, represented by Sangiran 4, and the typical Homo erectus here from Middle Pleistocene, represented by Sangiran 17, and also the progressive Homo erectus, represented from the man from Ngandong. So this is the three stages of evolutions of Homo erectus in Java during 1.5 million years ago. The oldest one is archaic Homo erectus with brain capacity 870 cc, centimeter cube, and dated to 1.8 to 0.8 million years ago. And also this one, the mandibles, they are coming from lower Pleistocene of 1.5 million years ago. And after that, they evolved to the typical Homo erectus, the majority of discovery of Homo erectus in Indonesia with brain capacity about 1,000 centimeter cubes and has the age of 700 until 300,000 years ago. The last one is the youngest one, brain capacity 1,100 centimeter cube, about until 150,000 years ago. And after that, some 150 years ago, Homo erectus extinct from Java and replaced by the modern human. Now I would like to give some evidence from Homo erectus discovery, the reasons in Java. The first one is coming from Bumiayu. Bumiayu in Central Java is a site very ancient, about 2.4 until 300,000 years ago. And it is investigated by Stehlin, Quadrupmaral, and also Koenigswald since 1930. And from this area, Koenigswald has formulated the first fauna coming to Java, where he called them as Tijulang and Tisaat fauna. And long after that, in 2019, this local man has discovered two fragments of Homo erectus femur from caput femoralis here, Bumayu 301 and 310. And this is discovered along the river here with the distance of about 100 meters. And also a fragment of diaphysis of Bumiayu 310, femoral, diaphysis femoral. And we compare the morphology between the human fossils and also the modern human and also the cervidae. And also we compare with the metric aspect of this bungle caput femoralis. And we mix bivariate analysis, the two caput femoralis down to the variations of Homo erectus here. So two positions, the exact stratigraphy of the two caput femoralis, we make the sections in 11 rivers there. And we make a synthesis, lithology, and stratigraphy. This is the stratigraphy. And we decided that the two caput femoralis coming from this level with a very well good dating 1.8 million years ago. So for us, this is the most ancient Homo erectus, the oldest Homo erectus in Indonesia, because most of them from Sangiran, we have 1.5, but from Bumiayu is 1.8 million years ago. And also we have the first Paleolithic implements from the site. And we have also in the same level of stratigraphy, we found a very eroded chopper here from silicified andesite. So the Paleolithic implements from Bumiayu is coming from two horizons, the oldest one and the youngest one here. And this is the synthetic schematic of Homo erectus. They live in this level 1.8 together with a small species of fauna. Some of them is Stegodon, Hexaprotodons, and Geuselon. And after that, they continue here about 800,000 years ago. And also they mix the stone tools here. So this is the image of Bumiayu in 1.8 million years ago, where the Homo erectus makes the implements and he lived together with Cynomastodon, Geuselons, and also Isapotrolus, also the Cervidae and Bovidae. So the geographical distribution of Homo erectus sites changes to wider scope. We have some item here, some sites in the western part of Java, including Bumiayu. And I returned to Sangiran from my excavation in 2019 and 2021. I make an excavations in this limit. This is the black clay of Pucangan formations that reflect a swamp area at the time from 1.8 until about 900,000 years ago. Here, I make excavation in this level here, about 1.8 until 1.7 million ago. This is this excavation. The stratigraphy, it is very black clay. Very black clay is the main material of Pucangan formations when the Sangiran was a swamp area at the time. And we have Pantra tigris here, well attached to the stratigraphical level with a premolar here. And this Pantra tigris, yeah, we have this one. And we make reconstruction here with femur and also teeth. And also we have some teeth, the crocodile in the same layer. Fortunately, again, here we have small bones of pubic bones of the human, yeah, with the same level of Pantra tigris and also from crocodile teeth. I compare with modern human here, pubic bone. And this is some pieces of the bones. And here, this is layers of tuff tree. Yeah, tuff tree. It is 1.7 million years ago. And the materials coming from here, somewhere here. So it is older than 1.7 million ago. If we make stratigraphical section here, it is something here. The pubic bones coming from this level, 1.7 million years ago. So tiger, crocodile, and turtle just arrived at Sangiran since 1.7 million ago. So this is new specimens of fauna that we found from excavations of 2019. Yeah. And also, this is the pubic bones, yeah, pubic bone. and coming from 1.7 million years ago. So biochronology of Java Island must be revised. Humans just arrived on this island since 1.8 million years ago, and tiger, crocodile, and turtle had landed in Java long before they were thought before. So we make a progress in dating both for the human and both for the fauna arrival on Java. From before, we have human from 1.5 until now is 1.8. And for the fauna, tackle, and so on, from 1.2 until 1.7 million years ago. Thank you very much. I return to Pak Anton.
Thank you very much, Professor Hari, for the enlightened presentation, the long history of Homo erectus, migrations, and all the biostratigraphy and everything. So we now transition to our second sessions, which is maritime archaeology. And in this part, we will explore the role of seafaring, ship technology, and maritime network in shaping past society. So our first speaker in the sessions will be Mbak Agni Cesaria Mokhtar from BRIN. So is Mbak Agni already here?
I am here.
Yes. Welcome and congratulations for sure.
Thank you.
But anyway, you can start your presentation.
Finally.
Finally, yes, it is.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Pak Anton. And thank you, everyone, the organizers, for having me this morning, this afternoon, Indonesian time. It's going to be a bit of a jump from human revolution to what I'm about to present. I will try to share my screen first. Okay. Oops, sorry. What did I do? Is it all right?
Not yet.
Not
It is in
yet?
progress.
Okay.
Yeah, it works.
Now it's work.
Is it
Perfect.
working?
Yes, perfect.
All right. Okay. Good morning again, everyone. Good afternoon for colleagues and friends in Indonesia. So this morning, I would like to share a very brief information about my study in general, the things that I have been studying in the last 4 years, especially. It's about the shipbuilding. A vernacular Southeast Asian shipbuilding. It is called the Leslock construction. And especially this morning, I would like to emphasize a little bit of the ships and maritime connectivity in pre-modern Southeast Asia, discussing a bit about a multidisciplinary approach in interpreting disarticulated ship and timbers. Why disarticulated ship and timbers? And this is basically the main point of my presentation. For the introduction, a little bit of like the history of studies in Southeast Asian shipbuildings and seafaring. The study of the vessel of Southeast Asia was not actually started by archaeologists. Instead, European and Australian ethnographers and historians, they started to document and to approach the traditional ships, especially on the eastern part of the archipelago. And then they argued that the technology must have come from a very long time before. And then during the 1980s, the study of the material cultures of the ships and boat timbers commenced. And then during like probably the first 2 decades, it was mostly like archaeological evidence serve as a confirmation of the theory and hypothesis offered by the historian and the ethnographers. And as more and more sites were found, the nautical archaeological approach of this such shipbuilding improved. And then today we can see that like more rigorous methodology in nautical and maritime archaeology being applied in shipwrecks and also on the boat and ship remains. But unfortunately, in Indonesia, like for public mostly, like shipwrecks was very common as, you know, a treasure hunting thing. So because it was like legal for a few decades to do commercial salvage in Indonesia. Fortunately, it was stopped, but we'll see what will happen in the future because now there's also a rumor, communication that probably the government is considering to open this commercial salvage again. Hopefully not, but since the stop of this commercial salvage, more scholars got into the archaeological part of these shipbuildings, and not just in Indonesia, but also collectively in the neighboring countries. So now we can see significant progress in terms of the study of this Leslak shipbuilding. A little bit introduction of what is Leslak shipbuilding. I said before, it is unique to Southeast Asia and the neighboring regions. It shows in the map like the distribution of the sites, mostly in the insular water of Southeast Asia. But recently there was finding, I don't know if you can see my arrow, I hope you can. But recently, some colleagues at BRIN, they found a sites here in Bongal on the western coast of Sumatra. It's kind of like changed the current knowledge of this shipbuilding, because this means that there's a possibility that the type of vessel also sailing directly to the Indian Ocean. Of course, we need more proof about this, but this is like looking really good for the future. And for this type of shipbuilding itself, scholars already established a firm definition, like the general characteristic of the vessel. They use keel planks and use wing ends for the bow and tackle. To differentiate between the common bow and stern that you see in other kind of vessel, and we call it wing ends here. And previously, only non-metal materials were used to fasten the hull, but again, there's another, I will point out another new sites over here in Bintan, where we found a metal nails used to attach the frame. So this is just to show that like research in this type of shipbuilding progressed significantly to kind of like updating the definition that has been, you know, like stuck for some decades. Okay, so for decades, the oldest archaeological evidence of this type of vessel was thought to be the planks from Pontian sites in Malaysia. dating from around the 3rd to the 5th century CE. But only like 2-3 years ago, the colleagues from Thailand, they found another sites, and apparently the tradition of this shipbuilding started way much earlier than we thought, because the dating of the plank came back from around the 4th to the 5th century BCE. And as for the archaeological evidence, the youngest probably is from the Philippines, from around the 15th to the 16th century CE. I will talk mostly about like cases in Indonesia and the challenges in studying this type of vessel, because until now, already around 40 sites of Leslak sites found in Southeast Asia, and more than half are in Indonesia, and the majority of the remains already disarticulated. Well, there were like many reasons behind this, probably also natural, but the most prominent is because of the intervention of human activities. As you can see this on the right side, this actually the boat was found intact, and then the locals were curious about that, and then they kind of like dismantled the boat. And of course, the scholars and archaeologists only arrive and access the timbers when they were already dismantled, and there was no documentation of how they kind of like dismantle things. So many times we already lost the primary context. So many times we only document them already moved to some kind of storage or museum. Yeah, so most of the finding were like chance finding and not through like archaeological survey or excavation. And so that's like the main point of this. Is it justified to study this type of findings? Because I mean, as archaeologists, we are like hardcore of like context, etc. But the reality is like the majority of the Leslak remains found today are already disarticulated and in secondary objects. But this is not only happened in Indonesia, and many previous studies managed to study these similar findings from Egypt, Oman, and also Australia. And I quoted here the arguments from Guidoni, who said that like the disarticulated timbers actually give a chance to understand a synchronic and diachronic analysis. And what I did for my study was to kind of like build a rigorous database from all the sites that has been studied so far, and also from the new sites that I studied, and again studying the overlooked studies that hasn't been in like a regional discussion. And from that database, we can set up like a comparison with other findings, and also we can get like more detailed information about this shipbuilding. I will share some examples, three examples from the type of sites that I work on. And these 3 sites were chosen because I managed to kind of like send the samples for radiocarbon dating. And the first one is called Kelapa Kampit. This is in Belitung Island. And you can see like on the left side, the plank over here is actually like a particular one, because this with 2 other planks, it seems that they were not used yet. So they were not finished planks. So it kind of like leads to a possibility of a shipyard, because probably on the side people did build the ships, or at least like did some kind of like reparation of or something like that. And on the right side, it's a picture taken by the locals, because again, when they found it, it was still intact, and then they dismantled it simply because they were curious, they didn't know what to do, and that's it. And they reburied them again. And this coming months, either April or May, we plan to kind of like going back to the sites and see what we can still find regarding of these planks. And so I will show you later how this kind of like radiocarbon dating kind of like changed also the chronology of the general shipbuildings. And the second side is Bongal. I think Pak Eri later will give a more detailed presentation about this site. But before already a few radiocarbon dating were done for materials from this site, but the one I sent here is from the wood taken from the hull plank. So you know for the ships itself. But as shown here, it's kind of obvious that like these different planks, they don't really share all the characteristic. They share, yes, last lug, as you can see. So lugs is the protruding parts of the plank, the inner face of the plank. But other than that, I try to show here, but like they have like their own dissimilarities. So they have particularities. Also the way how they were attached to one another. And based on these differences, I argue that they came from different vessels, because it's really difficult to imagine how these different planks came from one vessel. Again, this is emphasized the importance of this Bongal site, because that means actually they host like more than one vessel, multiple vessels. But unfortunately, again, there's the intensive human activity there, and until now we never found like in situ ship timbers. It's always already been moved by the locals. The second one is Sukaraja, also from the 7th to 8th century CE. This is also from previous slide that I show. This one is special because it was found on the river bank in South Sumatra, and it's quite far inland. So it's giving us like information that this type of construction was used not only to build vessels for the open ocean sailing, but also vessels that navigate the river system. And I said before, like for decades, Pontian in Malaysia was considered as the oldest, but from recent research and also from going through all the literature and everything, I kind of like rearranged the chronology of these shipbuildings. Now we have like one site in South Sumatra, Air Sugian, as the second oldest, and Pontian moved to the fifth. I mean, this is only maybe 1/3 of the sites found so far, but I want to exhibit how a meticulous work can, really change or not maybe change, maybe just to improve like prevailing knowledge, because it is important to keep updating So maybe the last time this list was made already like almost a decade ago, and it is important to kind of like keep updating it, and it's quite slow, I would say, compared to other type of studies, especially in prehistory, I have to admit, and that's why I want to encourage also colleagues, not just from Indonesia, but of course it has to be a collective regional effort to keep updating the knowledge about this shipbuilding. And so what we could do, because of course there were many limitations working with these articulated timbers. So luckily we still have not many, but a few shipwrecks found in much better condition. So we could compare the planks, the dismantled plank, with this shipwrecks. So we kind of like can fill in, like cross-filling the gap. Also, at the same time, when we are working with this type of shipwreck, there are many things that cannot be seen, and we got the information from the dismantled planks. So it's really like how do you say, like benefiting each other, comparing between the disarticulated planks and also the shipwrecks. This one is quite famous. It's from the 7th, 8th century Punjul Harjo. And the one that is still being working on, the excavation is still ongoing. It's in Bintan, just facing the Singapore Strait. It's called Lagoy Shipwrecks from the 12th to the 13th century CE. Again, it's an amazing condition. We can see all the fastening inside and also the strengthening components, the frame, the stringer, etc. But also with so many artifacts still inside, ceramics, potteries, and also organic materials. And this is a very significant finding, helping a lot to become like a reference when someone is working with like spatially disarticulated planks. And by comparing these two types of finding, we can understand more. Like here on the left side is what Horitz did, one of the ethnographers who study a lot of the Indonesian traditional ships on the 80s. And we can see like the changes between the archaeological materials and also how the tradition continued until the 20th century, but also there were changes among them. And with this type of finding, we could study how they kind of like lash the ligatures, how they work with like different lashings and everything. And this is, of course, missing in the disarticulated planks. That's why we kind of like always work with comparison. But again, when we are talking about archaeological evidence, especially in this type of study, it's always like incomplete until now, especially with like ship's components. Until now, we haven't found any evidence of riggings. So we don't know for sure what kind of sail they use, what kind of mast they use. And that's why we kind of like looking for assistance from other disciplines, including iconography and ethnography. But again, using these two data from iconography and ethnography, it has to be with much caution, because although like iconography, they offer a complete depiction, but again, with this type of ships, it's difficult to know whether they use the lash lock construction. as comparison, if we are talking about the ships from the Western Indian Ocean, they use the lace, so and the fastening was obvious from outside of the hull. So also in the iconography, they can be a little bit more sure because they could see it. But for us here, this Southeast Asian shipbuilding, all the fastening were inside. So it's very discreet from the outside. That's why the iconography never show anything. But unfortunately, we cannot know for sure if they use exactly the same construction for their hull. So for example, here iconography, the one on the bottom from Candi Borobudur, from Borobudur Temple. It's in Java, very famous, and for this long time served as like probably the only contemporary iconography with the archaeological remains. Sorry, but yeah, again, it's difficult to know. Another iconographical data were found recently from Muara Jambi in Jambi. Another temporary with the archaeological evidence, and here you can compare the luckily it seems that like they use different shape of mast and sail, but again we cannot know if they use the less lock construction. And also I kind of like try to trace for this special sail. It's called layar tanja, the canted rectangular sail, and it seems that like it was used in Indonesia for centuries, and it continued to be used from at least the 8th century, according to Candi Borobudur, all the way to the 19th century, and it continued to until today in La Malera. And for this La Malera, they still build their boat with the less lock construction. I mean, it's kind of like giving a stronger possibility that in the past, maybe the less lock hull were indeed using the tanja sail, this type of sail. But I mean, as working with the analogy, it has to be stopped until like, interpretation, until we found like further stronger evidence. And also with ethnography, we could kind of like understand some possibility how they kind of like build the hull in terms of waterproofing the hull, because in the archaeological evidence, such information were missing, of course. And here in Tanah Beru in South Sulawesi, they use a bark, like a thin bark, to make the hull waterproof. And they use like different technique. It's luting, and usually for the, I mean, sorry for two specific terms, but when they are building a shell first hull, a shell first where they put the planks first, usually they use different methods of waterproofing. But from here, we can see. So this is just to say it's important to kind of like understand the ethnography of the area to understand, because before it was a bit forced, the archaeological evidence is found in Southeast Asia, but like the comparison of method usually was taken from especially the Mediterranean, where this type of study is already more accomplished. But this is just to show how important it is to develop kind of like also the local knowledge. And some remarks, it is really good that we see a significant development of the shipbuilding studies in Indonesia and Southeast Asia, but until now, still obvious that only the archaeological evidence cannot answer all the questions. So it is very suggested to ask for assistance from other disciplines. And even so, there are still many gaps in the future to be answered, including contextual analysis and interpretation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mbak Agni. Well done, great job. And also for the engaging multidisciplinary perspective on maritime connectivities. That's a great, interesting technology that I think you'll be the force to.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we know. Is he here? That's the question. I don't think he's here at the moment for Mas Heri. I think we can move along to another to the next presentation first while we wait for Heri said, he's here. Okay, cool. Silakan, Mas Heri.
Okay, thank you, Anton.
You.
Sorry for the bad connection here. It's hard rain in southern part of Jakarta. Yeah.
Silakan,
Thank you
Mas
for
Heri.
this opportunity. Good afternoon and good morning to all audience. I will present part of my research, especially in western part of Sumatra, about the two sites in western part of North Sumatra province. This is about the result of Barus site and Bongal site. Barus site, can I help to present my PowerPoint?
Yes, you can share.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's working.
Okay. The first PowerPoint, please. No, both of it. Before this, above it, before, okay, above, before. Okay, yeah. Next. Yeah, this is the two archaeological research on the west coast Sumatra, especially in North Sumatra province. It is dating as a result from the 7th to the 11th AD. The sites are Lobutua site in Barus. It's actually researched by Uslit Arkanas and EVO between 1995 to 2000. And the result of the excavation that the artifacts and other archaeological data came from the 9th to the 11th centuries. And the next site is Bongal site. It is just situated about 60 kilometers southeast from Lobutua Barus. It reveals about 2019, but the intensive research just began between 2021 until 2022. And the absolute dating result is from the 7th to the 10th Common Era. Next. Okay, this is the situation of the archaeological sites on Barus, especially Lobutua and Bukit Asang. We can see the gray area in the left is the Lobutua. Meanwhile, on the right side of the gray area is the Bukit Asang. Next. This is the topography and excavation grid in Lobutua site. excavated between 1995 until 2000. And the results are next. Such as this, you can see the Middle East and West. Some of it with the glacier, it came from the Loputua side. Okay, next. This one of it is a Sgrafiato ball from the Siraf side. This is the dating is from 11th centuries. Okay, next. Another kind of artifact from the Loputua are the glass artifacts, such as ewer from the 9th to the 11th centuries. Also, small bottles of or serahi from Syria or probably from Egypt from the 10th to the 11th centuries. Also, glass talisman probably from Khorasan, Iran from 10th to the 11th centuries. Okay, next. Now we do the site, Bongal site, about 60 kilometers from the Loputua site. It is just excavated between 2021 and 2022. You can see that the biggest part of these sites are in the lowland area, but another part of the site is on the highland, on the hilly location. This is near to the a bay that called Sibolga Bay or Tapianauli or Tapanuli Bay in northern Sumatra. To see on the insert picture on the right side below is with the pink. That is the location of the excavation. Okay, next. Next. Next slide, please. Yeah, this location before this, before okay. So this is the location is in the estuary, but before made it like this condition, this site was big estuary and gradually changed to narrow because the siltation, because the sedimentation, and then the way is going to be the estuary of the river that we call this Lumut River or Pinangsori River. Okay, next. This condition about 1,000 years ago. And you can see the location is on the hill location on the left side of the Lumut River on the village of Jago-Jago and the district of Badiri, Regency Tapanuli Tengah on North Sumatra province. We have been made 30 excavation pits, 21 excavation pits located on eastern slope of Bongal Hill, and non-excavation pits located on the alluvial plain at the foot of the Bongal Hill. Okay, next. This is the excavation area and volumes excavated at Bongal between 2021 and 2022 excavation seasons. We excavated about 324 meter cubic from the number of trenches is 9. Meanwhile, in the hill location, excavated volume 182.3 meter cubic. So the total of the excavated volume is 506.3 meter cubic. Next. The only clue, the first clue to the Bongal site is actually it came from a survey result that found in 2001. It is the statue of Ganesha, but the condition after we found it again in 2019, the statue is broken in some pieces condition. Okay, next. So the clue from Bongal site after 2001 is revealed up accidentally by the local they digging up the location inside the pit. They also okay, next. So these are the change finds from the mining pits. The finds are such as coins from the Umayyad until Abbasid period, also Chinese ceramics, and also the Persian ceramics, and another is bronze artifacts. Next. Interesting finds in Bongal site. We can from the mining pits are the wooden artifacts such as the part of the boats, also the ivory, also the pen from a pen box, and the wooden comb. These artifacts have analyzed in Waikato University, and the results are next. Also, we found from the mining pits, they found a plank with the paleographic with the Granta script. It's probably from the 7th to the 8th centuries. And then we send samples from this artifact to the beta analytic, and the result is 668 to 779 centuries. So it's the same with the Granta script comparison paleography. Okay, next. So this is the radiocarbon dating result from the artifacts and the ecofacts from the gold panning pits. You can see the oldest archaeological remains is an ivory from the 314 to 382 centuries. Meanwhile, the youngest is from the 600 centuries to 700 centuries. Okay, next. Now we see the excavation bongal, especially from the Alufel plain. This is the condition one of the excavation pit. Deep of this excavation pit average between 3 to 4 meters, and the condition is also usually watery, so we need to pump it out from the excavation pits. Okay, next. So this is the stratigraphy of the bongal site excavation pit. You can see 4 layers, between 4 to the 5 layers, dominated by the sedimentation from the river of Pinangsori or Lumut River. Okay, next. Different from the alluvial plain, this is the excavation pits from the hilly part of the bongal site, dominated by the stone structures. In the one of the structures, we found 2 jars, 2 earthenware jars. Inside of it, we found many kind of beads, stone beads, also organic remains such as charcoal dating when it came from the 10th centuries. Okay, next.
I think
So this is the condition of the stratigraphy from the hilly part of the bongal site. It consists just 3 layers. It is different from the lowland alluvial position with the 5 layers. So this is the just not reach 1 meters, between 1 meter to maybe about 75 centimeters. Okay, next.
Mas Heri, I'm very sorry. I mean, if you can start to wrap up your talk because we need to move to another presentation. Thank you very much, Mas Heri.
Okay. So the found in the excavation findings, such as the Changsha ceramics from China. It came from 8th to the 9th centuries. Next. Sorry for the bad connection in my location. Okay, another kind of the ceramics from the China is UI5 dynasty ceramics from 9th to the 10th centuries. Next. Also, we found earthenware from South Asia, but we still can recognize the dating for this kind of these artifacts. Next. We also found the Middle Eastern glacial earthenwares. It is similar to Sirjan, southern Iran. It came from the 8th to 9th centuries. Okay, next. This is another Middle Eastern glacial earthenwares. It came from the Kush site from southern Iraq from the 9th to 10th centuries. Next. Another kind of the artifacts we found in excavation in Bongal are the glass materials, such as these are the glass bottles. It's similar with some another site in Indonesia, also in Middle East, such as this bottle fragment, similar with the Cirebon rag, with dating it came from 8 to 9 common centuries. The middle artifact is similar to Ramla artifacts from 8 to 9 centuries, and the right is similar to Ramla 9 centuries. Okay, next. Another kind of glass artifacts are the glass vessels and bottle. It's similar. The left one is Tulo Butua. It came from 8 to the 9 centuries. And the next is similar also in with Lobutua and Cirebon rag. It came from 9 to 10 centuries. And another in the right is similar to Nisapur, Persia or Iran. It came from 9 to 10 centuries. Okay, next. Another kind of artifacts besides the earthenwares, ceramics, and glass artifacts, we also found kind of stone beads like this carnelian beads, onyx beads, and also rock crystal beads. It is probably came from South Asia or maybe another part of the mainland of Southeast Asia. Okay, next. Now this is maybe the same with similar with the Panggung Parut found in Bali. We also found in Bongal site. Also probably the same with found in Berenaik in Egypt. It came from Bongal. The contextual organic remains carbon dating result, it came from the 10th centuries. Another kind of the glass beads we found in Bongal is similar to the User Al-Qadim Egypt. It came from the 10th centuries. Next. Another kind of glass beads, it is the Indo-Pacific glass beads with the same context with those Roman beads. It is also found in the jar in the part of the hilly side of the Bongal side. So it is came from the 10th centuries. Okay, next. This one are the Islamic glass bead with the black and white, probably similar to Matmar site in Egypt between 7 to the 8th centuries. The middle degree one is probably similar to the around Mesopotamia, 9 to the 10th centuries, and the blue one in the right is probably similar to Busir al-Qadim in Egypt in 10th centuries. Okay, next.
Mas Eri, mungkin bisa tersingkat. Sudah melewati waktu.
Okay. This one is Mayan speech, also found in Panggung Paruk, Bali. It came from the 1 to the 1st to the 4th centuries. Also Berenaik in Egypt from the 1 to the 6th centuries, and the Bongal site It came from the 10th centuries. Next. Besides the artifacts, we also found in Pongal sites are any kind of resins such as Styrax pinsoa or kemenyan and camphor or kapur barus. Next. Okay, next. The result of the resins. Oh, beside the resins, we also found the spices such as betel nut, nutmeg, keluak, or Pangium edule, candle nut, and also we found the Java cardamom. Okay, next. So this is the result of the dating. It came from the 7th to the 10th centuries. Okay, next. So this is the result from all of the organic remains found in the excavation. It ranged between the 7th to the 10th centuries. Okay, next. So this is interesting found that connected Indonesia or Nusantara Islands with another part of the Indian Ocean. This ecofact are the nutmeg from Banda Island probably because before the came of the colonialism, the spices only found the Indian Oceans are the clove from the Mantai site in Ceylon, the Indian Ocean, are two kinds of spices such as okay, next. So what kind of the mode to connected this form, these artifacts, and also kind of ecofacts. The only mode can transport those items just water transportation. We found this kind of less like wood tradition of Southeast Asia found in Bongal, also Punjul Harjo in north coast of Java, also found in Kadak Karapali in Malabar Coast in the southwestern part of India coast. Next. So we can make the notes that the western part of Sumatra is the connecting between not just Indian Ocean region part, it is also connected another part in Nusantara or Indonesian archipelago and South China Sea, and also connected to the Persian Gulf and also the Red Sea. So this is the broadening connection that western part of Sumatra globally interacted with the trading or another kind of interaction. Okay, next. Okay, the conclusion is maybe we can just read it, and I think thank you very much for this occasion. Mr. Anton.
Yeah, Mas Heri, thank you very much.
Bang Anton.
Very interesting
Terima kasih.
information and presentations. But I'm afraid that we don't have any times more. So, but anyway, thank you very much for giving a talk in this matters. But so we'll carry on to another presentation, another sessions. The next presentation will be Dr. Christina Hopal and her colleague, and they will present on rethinking the level of East India Ocean interactions, focusing on the categorization and interpretation of Mediterranean identified artifact in Indonesia. One more thing, if you have any questions, don't forget to put your question in the Q&A box below. Thank you very much. You can start, Dr. Christina.
Thank you very much. Can you see my presentation now? Everything is in order?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Before actually starting the presentation, I would like to give a very short introduction of this project. So research on East-West connectivity has often equated so-called Roman artifacts with direct long-distance trade. Using Indonesia as a case study and working within a collaboration between Indonesian and European scholars, we aim to challenge this assumption. So in particular, we emphasize the complex, fragmented, and often indirect nature of this evidence. By applying a systematic analytical framework, we reconsider how Mediterranean identified objects should be classified and interpreted within Indian Ocean networks. The chronological frame of this research spans from 200 per 100 BC to 500 per 600 CE, so from the beginnings of Rome Far Eastern interest until the transformation of cross-cultural interactions. So we won't deal with the Byzantine Empire after the 5th century CE because it's a totally different network and situation. This work actually forms part of a broader research project on ancient trade and cultural exchanges across both the land and maritime Silk Roads, focusing on the comparative analysis of Roman and Roman-inspired materials and their local reception in South and Southeast Asia and China. And before actually starting the presentation, I tried to jump to the limits of this transcontinental and interdisciplinary research. So, I jumped two. So greatest limits come from the fact that archaeological materials, in many cases, lacking proper context, because those are either in private collections or came up via looting and are in villagers' collections, and it is particularly the case with Southeast Asia. There's another problem with the archaeological traditions with different agendas and excavation focus. So in China, archaeology focuses on aristocratic tombs, while in Southeast Asia, archaeological focus shifts to port settlements. There are unevenly investigated areas due to historical reasons, such as Cambodia. And although there are intensive excavations conducted by foreign and local joint missions, but in many cases, the focus of the national agenda is different. And the last problem is that although we have written sources, but those are either generated from the West or from China, and we have nothing from Southeast Asia prior to the 5th century, and almost nothing from India, which is often leading to a bias. But some of the academic evolutions compensate for some of these weaknesses. First, humanities witnessed a shift from a Western-centered paradigm. This led to questioning several of the previously held interpretations. Second, this study gathers together different sources, Western and Chinese written texts, as well as an extensive regional database that include chemical compositions. This allows for broad comparisons. Third, to those changes can be added an improved understanding of well-dated, recently excavated sites. Finally, this study interprets these sets of data by using theoretical models. However, in many cases, it is quite difficult to define what we mean by Roman. So beyond objects genuinely produced within the Mediterranean, so beyond Roman imports, many items were made in Asia that incorporate Mediterranean style, motifs, or techniques, and those are often were labeled as Roman previously. However, none of those were made within the territory of the Roman Empire, but in Asia. So recent re-evaluation of these materials showed that those are in fact Roman-inspired objects made in Asia and not Roman imports. As you can see these materials on the slide, none of those were made within the territory of the Roman Empire, but some were in Asia. So those are not Roman objects, but Roman-inspired objects, or alternatively are beyond the scope of this research, so post-5th century CE dating materials and connect to the Byzantine interactions and not to the Romans. So taken together these issues, this clearly shows that earlier binary approaches are no longer sufficient. So instead of simply asking whether an object is Roman or not, we need a more nuanced analytical framework, one that can capture different degrees and forms of interaction across regions and period. And we need a systematic, verifiable database, which not existed in earlier scholarship. So in response to these challenges, together with Berenice Bellina and Lord Ducheboeuf from the Chicago Field Museum, we developed a technical and stylistic analytical framework, which allows us to interpret Roman elements found in Asia in terms of level of their interactions. Using this framework, we distinguish three major categories of Roman and related materials in Southeast Asia and China. So the first category is the Roman imports, the objects of Mediterranean origin. This is a well-recognized category. However, we have two other categories, and those were less recognized in the scholarship previously. So we have the raw materials of Mediterranean composition, and the third category is the objects that incorporate Roman visual or technical elements to varying degrees. So those are the so-called inspired objects. And now, please let me turn to the introduction of these categories in detail. So let's start with the imports. With this category, we applied a very strict and consistent definition, and we only included objects with close and well-established parallels from the Roman Empire. Or alternatively, we included objects whose chemical compositions clearly points to the Roman Empire as a place of origin. So accordingly, we excluded everything with debatable context or debatable date. And we also excluded objects that just simply similar to Romans. So we were very strict here. And we excluded objects that are most likely post-Roman arrivals. And I will return to this topic a little bit later. But now let's turn to our second category. These includes objects made of Mediterranean raw materials, either in form of glass chunks or waste, or as locally reworked and finished items. And for this category, we heavily relied on chemical composition analysis, since many of these objects were, as I mentioned, locally reworked, and therefore reflect local styles rather than Mediterranean typologies. And as you could guess, at the current state of research, most items in this category are glass. We don't have anything else for now, but these include glass fragments and simple finished objects, such as undecorated glass bangles. And this is the third category, the locally made items incorporating Mediterranean elements or techniques. And actually, we have two subcategories here. within the so-called inspired object categories. We have the objects inspired by Roman forms using Roman imagery or style, but produced outside the Roman Empire, so somewhere in Asia. And we also have the objects that potentially used Roman techniques, again produced somewhere in Asia. And this second subcategory is very important and very interesting because this is when the technical knowledge itself could indicate contact or transfer. However, unlike what we can see in northwestern India, in case of Southeast Asia or China, there is no clear sign of direct technological transfer. And overall, these materials, the archaeological evidence suggests indirect interactions with the Roman world, mediated largely through South Asian networks, in case of Southeast Asia. And with this in mind, if we turn now to the materials and their distribution in Southeast Asia, we can observe a clear concentration of Roman and Roman-related finds from one single area, which is peninsular Thailand and Myanmar, where local archaeologists, together with the French archaeological mission in peninsular Thailand and Myanmar, revealed a number of objects from secure archaeological contexts, and many of these materials have undergone chemical composition analysis. So objects of Roman origin, as you can see, we can find almost everything that we can see in India. However, for a much smaller extent, fewer objects, which is very visible in case of Roman coins, because from India we know thousands of Roman coins. However, in Southeast Asia we have one single Roman coin which can be connected to antiquity, but I will return to this topic again later. So as for raw materials, we have glass waste and chunks from Southeast Asia, and we also have inspired objects, coin adaptation, pendants, and coins inspired by Roman original coins, and we also have the inspired engraved gems. And if we look at the distribution of Roman and related materials in Southeast Asia, we can observe that apart from Indonesia and with some rather dubious evidence from central Myanmar, most finds are concentrated in two main areas. I already mentioned Peninsular Thailand and Myanmar, but within this broader area, we can find an even clearer concentration, the Isthmus of Kra, and we have the second area, which is the Mekong Delta. And from these areas, the materials differ markedly, both regarding their chronological range and their material composition, which means that on the Kra Isthmus, we can find the earliest high-quality import materials with high-quality inspired objects, while the Mekong Delta and also south of the Isthmus of Kra, but still on the Thai Malay Peninsula, we can find fewer imports from later dates. The quality is not that high, and we can find a greater number of inspired objects, but again in secondary quality. And now let's turn to Indonesia. And see how Indonesia fit into these broader chronological and distribution patterns. So far in Indonesia, we have two great types of materials. We have the Roman identified Roman coins, and we have the beads of Mediterranean composition. However, the Roman coins is a problematic topic, and I let you know why. So let's see how we can identify Roman coins in general. So genuine Roman coins is the identification of these usually based on weight, size, and the iconography of the obverses and the reverses. However, when we take broader criteria into account, such as the distribution patterns, the circulation histories, the associated finds, and the minting practices, significant anomalies begin to appear. So in several cases from Southeast Asia and China, these inconsistencies strongly suggest post-Roman or even modern arrivals rather than ancient circulation. The first clear indications of such later arrivals emerged through a close cooperation between Indonesian and Hungarian archaeologists. Our work was the first to show that although many Roman coins are mentioned in the literature, closer examination reveals that most are either lost or poorly documented or demonstrably post-Roman. These objects were typically moved as antiquities and mixed with materials of different dates and cultural backgrounds, and none come from secure archaeological context. And on this slide, you can see one of the most illustrative examples and the result of our research with Sinatria Atithyatama from Java. 2016, 5 Western coins were reportedly found by local farmers in the Tuban Regency. And if you look at these coins, you can find a Roman sestertius, 2 late Roman bronze coins, a Byzantine follis, and a 5th coin, a modern replica of a Greek tetradrach. So if you look at these coins together, you can find great inconsistencies. Together, coins with different dates, but the most suspicious is the modern replica, so fake coin. And this clearly points to a 20th century modern arrival for all of the 5 coins. And we have a second example, again from Java. In 2017, a small hoard of 10 Roman and 11 Chinese coins was reportedly recovered by local gold panners from the Brantas River near Trovulan, a site generally identified with the capital of the Majapahit Empire. And according to the report, the coins were scattered in close proximity along the riverbed. And the Roman coins are all low denominations with limited intrinsic value. And many of these were minted in Western provinces, some even minted in provinces close to Hungary, which is very strange and suspicious because you cannot find such coins east of the Roman Empire, not to mention India. It's very suspicious on its own, but what is more, that they were reported to be found together with the Chinese coins, and the Chinese coins are dated from the 8th to the 13th century CE, and usually the youngest coin gives the so-called terminus postquem for the whole hoard, which means that the Roman coins could not be buried earlier than the 13th century CE. So all of these indicate that, as with the Tuban coins, the Brantas hoard represents post-Roman arrivals, and these objects likely constitute a modern or recent assemblage and should be treated as secondary deposits or scattered items rather than ancient circulation. So what we have remained, those are the beads of Mediterranean composition. And we have the beads from Bali, Pangkung, Paruk, and Sambiran. Those are well known from the literature, and I will get back to those shortly. But first, I would like to introduce a new site already seen in Harry's and Berenice's presentation. This is Karangagung, because it's very important, because recent intensification of archaeological research has revealed that additional sites can be taken regard, and this is Karangaguna Presirijayan port settlement in South Sumatra, which yielded 2 early glass beads of Roman antimony composition dated to the 1st to 4th centuries. And the significance of this site is that apart from Bali, now provides another region with strong evidence of Roman-linked objects. So let's go to Karangagung, and I would like to thank to Harry all of the pictures, and also to Le Duchebieu, who shared the chemical composition results with me. And it's very, very interesting because we have 2 early glass beads. We have a segmented gold glass bead from Mulyajaya, and also turquoise blue bead of Mediterranean composition from Karangmukti, so again the Karangagung area. And this turquoise blue bead is especially interesting because it's similar to the South Asian beads. And what is even more remarkable, that from a later period, from on the very border of our time limit, from the 4th to 5th centuries, we have 12 beads of Mediterranean composition. And if we compare the composition and context of these beads, we can see that Pangkung Paruk Bali is remarkable because there were altogether 40 or 43 gold foil beads of Mediterranean composition discovered from one single burial, which is the greatest number of concentration of Roman artifacts from one single context. And it's from a volcanic tuff sarcophagus dated from the 2nd, 4th century CE with other non-local objects. And we also have a Sambiran, from where there's a red bead with gray striation. It's from a trench which also produced a high concentration of Indian pottery and evidence of local bronze casting. It's dated to the 2nd, 1st century BC, 3rd century CE. And I already mentioned the Karangagung beads dated to the 1st to 4th century CE. And the question is here whether the owners of the beads had any idea about the Romanness of these beads, because if you look at those are quite simple beads, of course not the gold foil beads, and their exoticness might be apparent, probably not the Romanness, but the foreignness because of the technique itself. But what about the red bead and turquoise blue bead, which was very similar to the Indian, South Asian ones? Actually, the color alone could have mean exoticness if it would be colorless or cobalt blue, because these colors were difficult to produce even in South Asia. But about the turquoise blue bead, these are questions to investigate further. And now let us turn to the discussion. So the importance of secure archaeological context is very, very important, and also the importance of proper compositional analysis. I would like to already highlight that Java was the first published evidence of post-Roman arrival coins, and now we have more and more studies revealing that there are other similar objects from Southeast Asia and China. And again, as for the beads, we need to look into the cultural meaning of Roman beads, especially about the perception, attribution, and value, which we need to consider in further research. And in conclusion, this study highlights several points regarding Indonesia's position in early cross-cultural networks. So what we can see in the 1st and 2nd century CE, that the evidence remains sporadic. This raises questions about whether Indonesia played only an indirect role within wider exchange systems. And it also emphasizes the need for further archaeological research, particularly on the coastal sites of Sumatra. Many sites may have been submerged, eroded by rivers, or remain undiscovered, which presents taxonomic challenges for understanding early networks. And from the 5th, 6th centuries, we can see a reassessment of trade routes. And this shows shifting networks, and it seems that there's an emergence of new sites indicating a more visible integration of Indonesia into trans-regional connections. And Karangagung is a key site in this regard because it illustrates the period of this reassessment. So the sporadic involvement and also this more visible involvement with starting from the 4th to 5th, 6th centuries with these 12 Roman beads. But of course, there's a lot to look into in future research. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Christina. Thank you for the very tight and great presentations. We're going to move along. We still have a very short period of times to question and answer, or maybe some remarks, or maybe some questions, short comments for all the presenters. So if you have any questions or maybe some comments for the presenters, I'd like to invite you, all the attendees, to raise their hand or just like put their question in the QA box I think there's already one questions. It's from Professor Thomas. I'll go to you shortly, but I'll just give this short question to Agni. Agni, there's a question from Ian McCann. Agni, excellent as usual. Are you finding that there is a choke point for maritime archaeology at Java and Sumatra? When mapping this technology, it seems like move either way, providing distinct patterns of types of technology. Do you have any comments for that, Agni?
Yes, thank you, Ian, a dear friend of mine, actually. So yeah, in general, the connection between Java and Sumatra, his question is about, yes, if I'm correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the interesting thing is, like, from the archaeological point of view, all the sites of the last luck shipbuilding almost in Indonesia, almost exclusively in Sumatra, except a very, very few in Java, like the Punjul Harjo, the famous Punjul Harjo, and also the other famous one is the Cirebon Wreck. But even so, we cannot be sure. I think some scholar already argued, based on analyzing the woods of Punjul Harjo, it seems that the timber came from Sumatra. So, and also this is the challenging part of studying shipwreck, right? We are not sure, like 100% sure, if the last location was the original of the ship. So because they travel and etc. But as we see today, the tradition continues on the eastern part of Indonesia. It stopped, completely vanished in the western part of Indonesia. So I would say between the 16th century and then after that, I think there was some kind of shift happening on the western part of Indonesia that kind of like changed how people build their ships and everything. Most likely the arrival of the Europeans, especially the Dutch. I think they kind of like push the vernacular tradition, and then they start like building based on the introduction of new way of technology and the way the European built their ships. So, and then the kind of like move to the eastern part, and as we see today, and only like very small part of Indonesia still practicing this type of shipbuilding. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Agni. We're going to the next persons. Professor Thomas, you have any questions, any comments?
Thank you very much for the possibility. So I have a comment and a question from Professor Vidianto. So at first, thanks a lot for this great summarizing presentation and new results for the dating of the Erectus in Java. May I ask that this is a new published results? Because I saw a lot of new date for Erectus, but from China and not from Java. Do you have the published version of your presentation or paper?
Yes, my publications for the last dating from Sangiran and also from Bumiayu is published on the Anthropology
Okay.
2023.
Okay.
Yeah, 2023.
Okay, thank you very much. I will check it
Anthropology.
and I will
Yeah.
read it. And the question is another question is that you didn't mention the Mojokerto child date. As I remember to the date of that find, it's really ancient also. Do you know the accepted version of the date of that child?
Yes, the date of Mojokerto is very, very, yeah, because the first dating by Professor Jacob
Yeah.
is coming from 1.9 plus minus 0.4. So it will about 1.5 until 2.3. And if we face to the emergence of Java Island, Mojokerto is located in the East Java. And the island emerged little by little, the oldest one is from the west, and the youngest one is from the east. So, according to me, it is not possible that Mojokerto has the dating 1.9 plus minus 0.5, 0.4. So, at that time, East Java is still under the water. And the dating for the Mojokerto is from the samples of Umais, yeah. Maybe it's not connected really with the skull cap. So it is, according to me, it's not a good examples, a good samples for the dating, yeah, because we don't know very well where the skull was discovered exactly up to now. There is still many debates between group of Professor Jacob and group of Professor Zaim and group of Japanese team. So they have their opinion about the locations exact of the Mojokertensis. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for the answer.
Debatable. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Is there another question or just comments before I wrap up this today webinars? I'm just gonna check because Ian asked to Berenice, and then Berenice already answered at the chat box, so I think that one should be done. Okay. So I think I'm just gonna wrap today webinars. So thank you very much. As we come to the end of today's programs, I would like to extend our sincere appreciations to all speakers for sure, to their insightful and thought-provoking presentations, and to all participants for your active engagement throughout the sessions. And today discussion have highlighted the richness of interdisciplinary research, from human migration to bioarchaeology, to maritime archaeology and ancient trade network, which is a very long span period of times, demonstrating the importance of collaboration across regions and fields of expertise. The themes we explore today invite us to examine how people move across landscape, how they adapt for sure to environment and climatic change, and how they establish connections across regions. So I would like thank you once again for your participations, and we look forward to welcome you to the next session, which is tomorrow. And I'm Anton Ferdianto, and it has been my pleasure to guide you guys for the first day of the 2 series of webinars. So have a wonderful day and good afternoon, and see you tomorrow. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Mungkin tunggu bentar, Tante. Masih jawab pertanyaan.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for today.
Very sorry, Christina.
Thank you, Anton. You were
thank you
great.
very
Thank
much.
you very much.
Thank you, Christina.
Thank you very much. So see you tomorrow, yeah?
Yeah, tomorrow at 3 o'clock Indonesian times. I think we're in the same times, tomorrow.
Yes. Should we start a little bit earlier? Some of the presenters asked to be online a little bit earlier so they could try their presentation. Let's say 2:40 Indonesian time. Would that be okay for you?
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea. I think because 20 minutes sometimes you just you will just go over if you like trying to, yeah. But anyway, I mean, it would be a great idea. Just try to not explain them, just try to just tell them that we have constrained times, and then if you have any difficulties, technical difficulties, what kind of things that we could help, and then how do we mitigate those kind of stuff. So anyway, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, and Christina
Okay.
opened the Zoom meeting. I think it's because we offer time for you to answer if you want to answer the question, because there is some question from Sinatria and Ian, I think, if you want to.
Yes, I believe I answered Sinat's question.
Yeah, you did.
And then
Yes.
other from Ian.
Here in the question box, there's a question from Ian, which is already responded by Berenice, and then I think the last question is Sinatria, and then which already responded by Christina. So yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Oh, good, great presentation.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for everybody, and see everybody tomorrow.
Yeah, see you tomorrow.
From 2:40 for the presenters and everybody who would like to join us earlier. Okay.
Sure.
Thank you
Thank
very
you, Kak.
much.
Bye.
Selamat malam.
Selamat
Good
malam.
afternoon for everybody. Sampai
Ciao, ciao.
jumpa.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
Terima kasih Nada
Good.
Dewa.
Terima kasih. Sampai jumpa.
Izin saya close ya webinar.
Ya, sebentar kayaknya mau answer dulu.
Yes.
Masih
Oh,
answer?
answer dulu ya.
Bentar.
Okay.
Oh, udah live dia. Ya
Udah, sudah live duluan. Itu kan udah dijawab di chat, Mas.
Oh, ya, oke.
Jadi si Christina udah balas. Thank you for the question. Yes, it is very likely that during the colonial period there are antiquities brought to Europe from Europe to Asia.
Enggak, yang Ian yang terakhir itu pertanyaan.
Dibalas sama Berenice. These beads are found in sites, including Hepu. Compositional analysis need to be conducted to allow for interpretation of their possible origin.
Oke, terima kasih.
Wah, thank you, Mas.
Yuk. Ya, izin pamit. Ya,
Mas
makasih
Put,
banyak.
thank you, Mas Put.
Ya, sama-sama Mas Anton. Pak Sofwan.
Semangat. Yuk, terus sih.